Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you for joining me here today. Hope you're having an amazing day. We're going to take a look here at Dodo, which is a request from one of my community members, Lori. Thank you so much for requesting that I cover this. You are one of my favorite patrons, and I hate to say that because you're all my favorite, but you make some of the best requests, and I love to check this one out. In fact, we've actually profited from this in the past, earlier in the year when it was pumping. So we'll take a look at that, of course. If you're new to the channel, obviously I'm not a financial advisor. This is for educational purposes only. Check out my trading community. I have basically a trading community where I send out signals for every single trade that I take. Highly successful, awesome experience. There's a descriptive video in the description below. Help you understand what that looks like. We always look at Bitcoin first. So if you're new to the channel here as well, just note that any good trader will look at Bitcoin before they make an informed decision on the other altcoins. Because if you don't know what Bitcoin's doing, you're kind of doing yourself a disservice, right? It makes perfect sense. This is like half of the fundamental understanding of being a good trader in crypto is to look at Bitcoin. That being said, we have a support channel here. 53,800, upwards of 56,000. That's almost non-existent now because the price is so far ahead. Doesn't mean it won't retrace per se, but we are definitely looking at a bullish October for Bitcoin. And that follows and holds true almost exactly to a T 2013, 2017's October as well. So we're looking at coming to fruition with this 4-year cycle. So it's looking really good. One last thing here, just to note, we have a resistance right around 63.5, and that is essentially where the one-day candlestick closed 4 days in a row without breaking that plane. So that's essentially where the resistance is, but keep in mind 65,000 is kind of like the all-time high, very, very close to. So there's basically a resistance channel between 63.5 and 65,000. Just bear that in mind. Remember that. If we get stuck out there, that could stunt a little bit of growth, but we actually want Bitcoin dominance to recede a little bit based on the simple fact that we need that capitalization to go to other coins, which is why we're seeing coins like, Matic, ADA, Solana's, all the bigger ones, even BNB's taken off, doing much better things now because of the fact that they're large market cap coins. Ethereum as well, they're adopting that extra money that comes out of the market and goes right back in. All right, so moving on to Dodo, let's take a quick look here. And let's see here. So first of all, I believe its ICO date, correct me if I'm wrong, was February 19th. I looked on all the exchanges available on TradingView. This is the oldest one I could find. So basically, February 19th, it's a fairly new coin. And obviously the ICO date, I don't know, I don't really count that too much just based on the fact that it's the first day of of trading, and it can be very, I don't know, it doesn't really help us specifically with where we're at now. So a lot of times I just kind of standard deviation, get rid of that, right? But regardless, that's essentially open date. And what we want to look at here is marking some resistance levels, because obviously, even though we did some pretty good movement here with Dodo recently, we want to make sure that we can get past certain points, right? So let's go ahead and mark that. We got a resistance at about $2.24. And then another zone here, right at about 433. That could eventually become a resistance. But for now, we'll just focus on the more immediate time frame here. We can kind of see too the price got stunned out right around 197. So 197 to 224 is the resistance channel. So what will likely happen is Dodo will probably break that first resistance plane, kind of work itself into an average within that resistance channel, and then break above. Just inevitably, that's typically what happens. And as we can see, Dodo has a history of doing well when Bitcoin does well, but obviously El Salvador had a lot to do with that. September 7th was a very difficult day for most coins, and that pushed the price down. But it doesn't mean that it's not still very much valuable, right? Because if you look at Bitcoin back here was at like 40,000, right? And that's at $2.20. And Bitcoin's at 60,000 now, 61 even. And the price is at 195 or lower. So when I kind of see that correlation, it tells me this coin has a very strong potential to continue to break its most recent high and obviously try to travel towards its previous high, right? Now, all-time high, we'll worry about that later, but for now, I would say these are two impressive things, or things we want to be impressed by when it passes, right? That's essentially what we're looking for here. Anyways, so enough about that. So we like to look at support and resistance zones. Here's another thing that's awesome. The price is now above 50 on the RSI. It was working as a resistance level as well, kind of keeping the price down. That's fantastic news. We've also got a MACD convergence on the 1st. That's pretty standard. Most altcoins actually converged on the 1st of October based on, again, Bitcoin's movement. Big surprise. So we'll take a look at the 4-hour chart. Oh, wait, one last thing. Simple moving averages. We're over the 50, but under the 200. The 200 is also kind of holding the price down. So keep that in mind. that may not influence a lot in the long run, but for the short term right here, that did resist the price down as well, because even though we had a resistance level there, the 200 was coming down to swoop in and kind of drive the price down. So there's a slight chance that Dodo could go sideways for a little while, possibly right at the resistance level, have an ascending wedge pattern, and then of course break out to the upside. That could very well happen. So we may not see a breakout from Dodo until perhaps another, I would say, week or so, and we might likely see a break to the upside. But this resistance level is essentially reaffirming itself that the price is going to stay under 196 for some time. Maybe not a long time, but some time. All right, moving on to the 4-hour. This is great news. We're above both moving averages. You can see how the price came down, tried to reset or retrace, and it bounced off of the 50-day simple moving average and back up again. In fact, that shot really high, really fast. It's part of the reason why it's consolidating now. You see how this came down. It's averaging itself out right about 50%. It's pretty standard, right? So if we take a look at the, just say the Fibonacci retracement and kind of go from the lowest to the highest point, you can see we got this nice little support channel right around 166. So hypothetically, 166 should be roughly where the price will average itself out. And that's pretty standard for most coins that increase this high that fast in a short amount of time. Retracement is almost always between 40 and 60%, which is roughly where Fibonacci retracement essentially follows. So those are kind of the rough estimate of where it lands. And I see more often than not the price kind of average out right there. So that's kind of what we're looking at there. Furthermore, let's go ahead and take a quick look at the 1-hour chart. I like to see where the Ishimoku cloud lines up. We're above the cloud. What's cool, look, it broke into the cloud, didn't break below. The cloud, this lead 2, held as a support level and drove the price back up. Now again, the 50-day simple moving average was trending upwards as well on the, I believe, the 1-day chart, so that does help. But generally speaking, that essentially kind of happens a lot. The cloud can work as a strong support level. And if you're new to the cloud, it's basically referred to as the Ichimoku cloud. And what I do is I just disable the first 5 indicators, which are beneficial in their own way. but for teaching purposes here, I like to help educate my viewers to just use the plots background, because it makes much more sense in the sense that we want to keep it simple, right? We don't want to have too many indicators present at any given time, right? So I mean, if you see people with their other channels doing something like this, you might not want to pay attention to that. It's way too much crap, if you ask me, and we need to have simplicity in charting. Don't get me wrong, you should have at least 2 indicators present per time frame, but not 5 or 6 at a time, kind of overlapping. It gets crazy. We don't need that. We want to keep it simple. I have more traditional trading habits myself, coming from stock market, ETF, futures, and I traded natural gas and crude oil for a while. And I can tell you that it carries over perfectly, but there's an art to being, a simple trader and using less. Less is oftentimes more, if that makes sense. Because then you're not confusing yourself with multiple indicators, and they're not like overlapping and contradicting one another. So you find ones that you like and you stick with them. That's the bottom line. And to me, Ichimoku cloud on the 1-hour chart is perfect. It kind of drives the price, drives it home, so to speak, for me. And obviously, when the price is above, it's considered a buy signal. So we can tell here that right there in retrospect, hindsight's 20/20. I recognize that. But when the price is above, it would have been a buy signal. That would have been an awesome point to get in. So that's just something to note. So that's kind of how that works. Then furthermore, why don't we go ahead and take a quick look at TD sequential. I'm sure we got a couple of resets and we're just consolidating now. Look at that. We're consolidating right above support, which is excellent. We like to see that, because then we have a chance to be able to leg up again soon to break that resistance level. But I like when the price consolidates really close to a previous resistance level, now reaffirming itself as a strong support, and we can probably see some kind of leg up soon, because if we count this here, this is about almost 9-10 hours worth of consolidation, and I would say the good sweet spot is 12 to 16 hours of consolidation, where you have that 9 plus 4 essentially, and what that does is that just helps us kind of get that where the bears feel comfortable with selling their positions, right? And it kind of averages the price out, and then the bulls can continue back and push the price up even further. Because this, Dodo is underbought or oversold, you could say, whatever term fits the mold here, because you can tell based on its history, it definitely has a large, good propensity for doing well, even when the market was doing poor. Before we saw, before May 19th, of course, we all know that the China candle, it was averaging itself out between 250 and 450. That's not bad. That's really good. So what do you think it's going to do now that Bitcoin's at 61,000 down here, when Bitcoin was at 60,000 when it was up here, right? So 64,000 back in April, just before one of the first major sell-offs, at 550, and now the price for Bitcoin is almost the same, only at $1.93. That's where that market capitalization comes in. Bitcoin's got a large market dominance right now, and once that subsides, that's when we start seeing altcoin season come into play. And that's going to be an awesome situation here in the near future. Dodo's going to take off. Many other altcoins will as well, also because the history. You always want to look at how well they did before Bitcoin sold off, and that tells us a lot about where it's going to be in the future, and also its patterns too. It does have a tendency of repeating itself. Regardless, so hopefully you found benefit. That being said, let me just go ahead and summarize. I feel like, prediction here, it's pretty safe to resume this resistance level, or this resistance range of about $4.30 approximately. That will be tested and broken within the next 2 months. I think by year end, we'll likely see it testing its previous all-time high. I think it's a little lofty to see $10 from Dodo, personally, because again, that's the ICO date. We shouldn't count that in. So if we take the first couple of days out of the play, we should probably use this right here as the resistance. So I would feel much more comfortable recommending that as a resistance level, which is $6 and what is that, $6.87? So $6.87 is essentially the resistance place. So I think that it's more realistic to be able to see the price there by year end, right? And one last thing we could do, no, you know what, we'll reserve that for later because it's too early. That being said, again, thank you so much for requesting that I cover this here. Really do appreciate my patrons again. If you're not a patron already, again, check it out. See if you like it. It is a trading community, a really awesome group of folks there, and we all learn and grow together. We become better traders, and if that's something you need somebody on your side, I'm here for you. Love to get to know you a bit better. Just bear in mind, too, it comes with some perks. I actually send out signals for every single trade that I take, and I try to trade about 85% success rate right now. So awesome stuff. Check that out again in your own time. But thank you so much for joining me here. We'll see you in the next one. Have a good rest of your day. Thank you.